Hey, I am back with another video. It's been not a long time, but it's been a little while since I've made a video. And, I went through a lot of different changes and different things in my life that, it kind of, I don't want to say I was like set back, but, I was kind of dealing with my feels and aligning myself with myself. And I think I definitely, not even I think, I know I came out on the other side much stronger. And I believe that is the most important takeaway for me out of all this is just the real value connection that I have with myself. I think it's really important to like have that shared trust with myself. And it's taken me a long time to get to this point, and I'm still building it as I go along, but I'm there. I'm getting there, each day I get there. So it's just such a good thing overall to really just be able to express myself and express how I feel and really just tap into my unique excuse me abilities that I have. I think that overall I'm really able to read the room, and I'm really able to vibe real well with whoever's in the room. And I think that that's a skill that I've always had ever since I was a kid. Really, I've always had that sort of skill set. So for me, I really believe that this next sort of conquest, this next journey is really just about like getting to know myself and getting to continue to deepen that, right? Because I've been on the path of getting to know myself, so I don't want to say that I haven't, but I believe that this time around I'm really in a different spot overall with just how I'm viewing the world that I live in, right? And the unique abilities that I have, and I want to share some great information, some great connections that I've made, over the past couple days, and man, like I've really watched a guy like Rodgers really step into his power and really get out and really push this stuff in the mainstream society, and to see what people are saying about him. Of course, that's just par for the course. Anyways, we already know that's going to happen, and to see how A-Rod went into the 4 days of the darkness and really came out of that, and he really came out of that much stronger sort of leader. And for me, how he pertains to my life is, I'll give you an example. I was at work the other day, and he was on ESPN, and they're talking about the darkness retreat and all that, and I was just so happy to see him up there. You know what I mean? They're talking about it, and whether they slander him or not, it's whatever. But the fact that that message is getting out there is really showing that the world is starting to change. And my man A-Rod is at the helm. He's the quarterback, and he's helping lead people like myself. I haven't met him yet, but man, I can tell how much he's evolved just from the screen, just from just sitting and watching all these interviews with him and Mr. Marcus, and just watching these guys talk, and the things that they really have been saying have really resonated with me. And whether Aaron comes back or not, I have some of my own theories. I'm a football fan myself, so I got some theories. I think he should come to New England. I think he should take a cut and maybe come out and link up with Billy B. But that's rather here nor there. I will see how his football career pans out. We'll see if he decides to continue to play, or if he decides that maybe being of service, because he's fit for it, for the world. We'll see where my man's gonna go next. But it's been good to see that being pushed out in the forefront of the media. It means that what we're doing is working, and it means that we're gonna win. That's what it really means. It means that we're winning now, actually. And I think that overall, like when I really look at the whole dynamic of the society that we live in, I think it's extremely important for me to start looking at these things and start to look at what is it that influences me, what is it that like taps me into my unique ability, right? Like that's the stuff that Nick and I have been really working on, and I'm really like just ecstatic about being able to like work on that with him, and be able to just really tap into myself, and he's really helped lead me there, and among other people too, Dante Young and another man, I know Dante Young, personally, but Mr. Rodgers I don't, or Mr. Marcus I don't yet, but those fine gentlemen have really helped. Guy like Cobra Tate, he's they locked him away, and when he returns, he's gonna return much stronger and much wiser, and I can see he's changing also, from the top G, like hose and all that kind of construct, right, to this sort of man that's really stepping into God. And I can tell just from his tweets, because I can just read all his old tweets. I can see when he wasn't as grounded as much, when he was a little, as he ages, he's grounding more, which as he steps more into the light, he'll just continue to keep grounding in there. He's going to find a lot of strength in his God that he believes is Allah. And, I can tell just from his tweets, because I can read all his old tweets, I can see when he wasn't as grounded as much, when he was a little, as he ages, he's grounding more, which as he steps more into the light, he'll just continue to keep grounding in there. He's going to find a lot of strength in his God that he believes is Allah. And he'll find the strength there, and he'll walk closer to God there, and he'll move towards the light. And it's just great to be able to see these guys that are also on the same vibe as me, doing the same thing. And as it pertains to the life that I live in, just the day-to-day life, just to see a lot of people that, I'm around, they're really, really starting to evolve and start to question and start to, ask, what is it that is going on within the world that we're living in, right? And how is it that we bring about like change in the world that we live in, right? And I think that these are the questions that I think really need to really be answered in the event that we were to change what's going on, right? Because the landscape of the world is really, really, really changing. It's changing very fast. If you think back to, let's say, 2011, let's just say that, right? Like, think how much different the world was in 2011. It doesn't even seem, it's crazy. I mean, it's over 10 years ago, but 13 years ago now, that's wow, how much the world has changed. I remember I was in high school, iPads came out. You know what I'm saying? All this different stuff was on the horizon. Instagram was on the horizon. I remember that year. I remember that too. Like in my soul, in my core, I remember that. And it's like, to see how far it's come. We've advanced, but yet we've digressed. So it's this weird paradox that, I'm really still looking, right? I'm still looking to really see kind of how we are going to continue sort of progressing. Take what we've learned and take what we've created and help us evolve as humanity. We're actually not as bad of a spot as you would think. In terms of politics and the system, it's not a great spot. Yeah, it's not. Not to be real. I mean, the amount of money that they've blown, the deficit spending, the war, the proxy war in Ukraine, rather, and conflict with Russia, conflict with China. It doesn't look pretty, right? So this is like something that I'm really starting to look at as myself in my community, right? What is it that I can do in my community to better move myself towards freeing myself from the overlords that have access, right, to me? Because I'm very valuable, and Nick Wright's very valuable, and Felicia's very valuable, and Hillary's very valuable, and Mr. Hafers is very valuable, and Mrs. Hafers is very valuable. These people are very valuable people. Mrs. I thought I could think of another Mrs. Mr. Terry. These are people that are in my life that I'm really starting to look at, and I'm starting to see how they're moving, and because they have value, right? So how do we protect the value that we have, right? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Like the first thing would be to, obviously you'd have to separate yourself from the system. And right now I'm in a spot where there's some things that I can do, right, for my money that I can keep. And I mean, like I'm not gonna get into it because I got my moves, but like, and I'll elaborate more as these moves come along. It's not that I don't want to talk about it or anything, but it's just I'm letting these things unfold first. But there's moves that I'm making now, that I'm moving myself towards that, right? And even in the life I have right now, I'm making moves to be able to keep what it is that I earn, right? Obviously, the money that I work at a restaurant, so the money that I make is taxed. The money off credit card tips, but the cash tips, that's mine, and I'm not claiming anything. And the IRS wants to audit me, then we'll deal with it at that time, and I won't. I'll either leave or I'm not going to pay the audit because I am standing up and I'm finished. I will no longer succumb myself to that because I have so much value, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. Is it's like when we really look at the dynamic of the empire, I think that it is time to start asking those questions and start moving towards that slowly by slowly. It's not gonna happen tomorrow. It's not gonna happen next week, right? But these are the things that we start to look at. These are the things that we start to think about. We start to think about our communities. We just start to think about what it is that we want for us and a future for our children, right? I'll give you an example. It's like I said, the dynamic of it all. The dynamic of it is this paradigm that nothing can penetrate that paradigm. And I think that's very dangerous. I think that's not great for humanity. I think that has caused a lot of issues. It started with good intentions, but what's that saying? I know what the saying is. The road to hell was paved with good intentions. That's where we're at with that. I'm not saying that the government started as an awful thing or they wanted to help people, I'm sure. But they get corrupted and you're stuck in your lower self. And just needing and wanting and desiring. Like, yeah, this was bound to happen. Like, it was inevitable in every part of the world, even my country of Kenya. Like it's the same deal. You get what I'm saying? So it's like that's why I think that overall for me, like I'm really starting to just look at the lay of the land and start to find out ways right now that I can start moving towards removing myself essentially from really the system, right? It's just not working. I like the market. The market's where it's at. I said this last night. I only really benefit from voluntary exchange of goods and service. That's really it. I don't really benefit from the government. They don't really give me anything. But they take from me. So I mean, I don't want anything from them, but that's the problem. They take from me, yet I don't want them to take from me, yet I don't need anything, but yet they're still going to take from me because it's my best interest. Nah, I don't really see how that's going to move us towards a more freer and prosperous society, in my opinion, when we have these sort of overlords that really have most of the sway of what it is that is going on, in terms of money and in terms of resources. They're burning it and they're deficit spending $6 trillion. So it doesn't look great, but there's a solution. I just said it, this is the market. It's the market, and it's people being able to really connect with each other and embrace their humanity. That's really the solution, and step into it, right? And to open their eye of humanity, because like Dr. Robert Gaffney said, like the eye gets closed, right? That's why I can talk to Ari and her eyes open. Ari and I had a conversation, actually, she drove me home today from the gym, and she was like, oh, these people talk about helping all these people, and they don't have enough to eat, and they don't have to, why don't you help them? I'm like, yeah. Exactly, Ari. Right, because her eye of humanity is open. She just hasn't been closed by the empire. You know what I mean? And I don't think hers will get closed. She's just too much in her heart for that. I don't think she'll, more likely than not, I don't think that's gonna happen to her. It's because has a family and she has love and and she's a good person. And I think that overall, like, this is the stuff that we're saying. I think that needs to be looked at. I think that we need to start really asking real questions about the betterment of humanity, not even just on the political or social level, but even on the spiritual and emotional, mental level. Like I was listening to Mr. Rodgers, and he brought up a great point. He was like, oh, people champion mental health, because him and it's like he's telling a lot of my truth here. I didn't think of this until he said it when I watched the podcast the other day. He was like, everybody wants to champion mental health and everybody wants to like be supportive of it until you really want to do something that is beneficial to your mental health, and then you get kind of crucified for it. And he's right, because that's happened to me. Like I left the whole NA thing and got crucified for it. You know what I mean? But then these people champion mental health. They want to talk about spirituality. You want to talk about emotional intelligence and healing. But you're not really then, if that's what you're saying, right? So that's what he brought that to the forefront, and then that makes sense, because it's like overall, like, we have to just view things differently. It's too tribalistic. That's the real problem here. I think that's the real solution. It's one of them, but there's other facets to it. But I believe that that's one of them, right? Is like tribalism. Some people are just so focused on their group and what their group has to say, and if their group isn't in front, or their group isn't that other group isn't of the ideology of the other group, people start to get upset. People start to cut people off and get angry, and they're cutting them off out of hate, and they're cutting them off out of anger. So it's like there's a lot of fear-based sort of darkness that clouds the country. Doesn't mean we can't get out of it. So I think that we are getting out of it. I think we're moving towards it. I think it's a day-by-day process, and we'll probably have to go through some more darkness for that to happen, and that probably includes me too. You know what I mean? Because it's all a reflection of myself, and I think that realistically, like, as we start to see the lay of the land, we start to see what's really going on, we start to really question, we start to really understand, we really start to turn off the news, we turn off the media, we the sources that we go to, do we trust those people, right? Do I trust Eric July? Yes, I do. I've watched all his content from the time the coronavirus came out to right now. He's been consistent. He has not switched up. He's not, everything he's saying, he's bringing the information. This is what he's presenting you, right? So I trust Mr. Brand. I trust a guy like that. So it's just to verify your sources here. There's nothing wrong with understanding and being in the know, but I think the mainstream media is a social, engineering conditioning machine. I think that it's just hammering people with these ideologies that really don't fit the natural law or order of humanity, or being human for that matter, or the human condition for that matter, So it's like, I believe that it's time for people to start really just looking for something different, asking different questions. You know, what is it that we really want to do here? What's the end game here at the end of the day? Like, if we're just going to go into politics and think that that's the route, like, I don't really think that's the case. Are we going to attack the culture? Which I say that's to go first. I think the culture's politics is just a downstream, anyways. Once you get the culture, the politics will just change inevitably by default. And Eric's the one who taught me that, and he's right. Now that he said that a couple times on his videos, I'm like, yep, brother's right. Yep, it's the culture first, man. You could try to fight in politics all day long, and I don't. That's a losing effort in my opinion, especially for people who are conservative. Like, the other side is has everything against you. They have every arsenal, every weapon in their arsenal at their disposal against you. So you're fighting an enemy that really has everything against you, and it's gonna be very difficult to stop that enemy realistically, unless you really start to question what's going on. But I think a lot of people just they don't want to be free. I think that's what it really comes down to. I think a lot of people still want to be slaves, and I think that it's a testament to myself, realistically, because that's how I was for a long time. In my internal world, I just wanted to keep doing what it was that I was doing in terms of these addictions and things like that, and just being a slave to it. And until enough was enough, then it's time to just move on. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that for me, like, these are some of the things that I'm starting to really realize. Had a really good week, really, really good. Talked to a friend. Talked to a really nice person who I met a long time ago, and she really believes in me, and I'm willing to invest in working with her because I feel like she's genuine, and I feel as if her and I were in alignment, and we're gonna see what the opportunity comes out of that, and Muay Thai and yoga, and I'm actually going to do a Bikram class. I went and worked out earlier. I did a PT with Hillary and a yoga class, like a flow class this morning, but I'm going back for a different style of yoga later. And I'm really excited. It's a new studio, new people, like, to just change up the vibe. You know what I mean? I'm real excited to just keep doing what it is that I've been doing. And, I have a lot to look forward to, and lot more work to be done as the days go on. But the days get longer, and the days get better, and the days get more greater, and it just continues to keep getting greater. So it's all just staying in my frequency and staying in my space, right? Because that's what's keeping me grounded, right? So I'm tired of being pulled so many different directions by people, place, things, whatever, pick, and it's not even people, it's just me. I was just allowing it, but I have to protect myself a little bit. I have to protect myself realistically because as I said earlier, I am very valuable, as everybody else is too. So I'm glad that I got to come on here and really make this video and really just tap in with y'all and really just get back to really creating. So I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and may the force be with you.